face jams, entertainment is in the building. Shucks. Go ahead and live vicariously through me, I don't mind. Go ahead and live vicariously through me, I don't mind. I do this all the time. I do this all the time. I do this all the time. Go ahead and live vicariously through me, I don't mind. I do this all the time. Go ahead and live vicariously through me, I don't mind. I do this all the time. I do this all the time. Go ahead and live vicariously through me, I don't mind. I do this all the time. What's up, motherfucking universe? Y'all, that was one of my favorite tracks I ever did. Catch that bitch on SoundCloud if you want to hear the rest of it. Shout out to Knowledge 405 King Solomon's, aka when their group is 832, who I got on the second and third verse on that track. Produced by my homie Luis Puente. And like I said, catch that bitch on SoundCloud. So this is a late load again. A late load. This is a late upload. Friday podcast number 8 on a Saturday. Today let's talk about personal trauma again. And I'd like to talk about one night stand trauma. So I've only had one night stand in my life. You can say I'm a loser for that or whatever, but I'll tell you why it's only been one. So I had a one night stand, right? And it was amazing. It was probably some of the best adult time I've ever had before, you know? No lie. But what I got also was burning piss. And if any of you men or women out there who have never had burning piss, it sounds exactly the way it is. You know, it's like you're pissing fire. It will bring a grown man to his fucking knees in tears. It will scar you mentally. It's traumatic. You will not forget having burning piss. If you listen to Lucky Luciano, he had a song about it. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it's real. It is fucking real. So if you do not use a condom, you are giving yourself a chance of burning piss. You know, they talk about this and that you can get this and that. Yo, talk about the burning piss. Why didn't they tell me that shit in school? Anyway, so I get burning piss. I go to the doctor. He tells me I had chlamydia. They give me medicine. Boom, it's gone. But in the meantime, I got to deal with this shit. It's horrible. I got to go to work. You know, he did give me some hydrocodone, but even weed and hydrocodone it did not take away the burn. So y'all be careful out there with them one night stands and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like real motherfucking talk. Burning piss is no fucking joke. I felt like my penis was a dragon and it was just spitting fire, like it was mad at me, like he was pissed off. You know what I mean? Like I betrayed him, right? After that, I was like, no more one night stands. Nope. Not worth it. So that's pee-pee trauma. Pee-pee trauma. Something else. Hair. So I'm about to get a haircut today, hopefully, but hair trauma. So when I was younger, everybody had their hair spiky. It was all spiked up, you know what I mean? And they used to use, some people I knew, they used to use glue, like actual Elmer's glue. And I knew I couldn't do that because my parents probably I don't know what the repercussions of getting glue in my hair was. And I have curly hair. So I try to make it go like, you know, like I try to spike it up. I put hairspray when I was in middle school. I would put hairspray. I think it was gel first and try to spike it up. And it would spike a little bit, but then I put hairspray. Mousse gel and hairspray all at the same fucking time. And then my curls, I would have little spikes, but then my curls would just go. They would curl. It was curls. There was nothing I can do about it. Nowadays, kids like having curls, and that's pretty cool. Like my son, he has like, you know, the haircuts that most little Chicanos have, and it's the or Latinx, whatever you want to call them. It's curly, right? A lot of curls. which is cool now. It's popular now. When I was a kid, it was not popular. Um, but it is what it is, you know. Styles change and sometimes they come back and shit. I remember I wanted Jinkos for the longest, but I'm glad my mom did not buy me them. One, they were too expensive. She was like, fuck that. And then they looked all what else? Hideous. You know, I just watched a Jeffrey Epstein documentary with my mom. She was watching it. And it's an interesting thing when your parents start to wake up to conspiracies. You know, she's not fully awake yet, but she's getting there. And I mean, this Jeffrey Epstein case has sparked a lot of minds, so we need not forget that he did not kill himself, in case y'all forgot. So with summer solstice passed. It's getting hot as fuck down here in Dallas, Texas, boy. You know, I'm not a doctor, right? But from the research I've done, I know that it's before any of this shit happened that's going on right now, this C word shit. I know that stress can make you sick. Lack of sun can make you sick. That's the other trauma I want to talk about. Conspiracy trauma. So before the internet, there was people like Dale from King of the Hill that would talk about the JFK shit and all these different conspiracies, right? But before the internet, there wasn't it was very hard for people to share information. And then there's some kind of Freedom of Information Act where after a certain amount of years, government documents are declassified. And that's how we find out about things like the CIA's Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird, Operation MKUltra. That's how we found out the FBI, or I don't know if it was the FBI or one of the presidents during Martin Luther King's time kept sending him. They kept trying to get him to kill himself, right? So conspiracies have been around for a long time, but they are forbidden knowledge. Like if you go back into ancient Egypt or during the Dark Ages in Europe, the top echelon would not let the poor people read the Bible. They wouldn't let them even. They weren't allowed to learn to read, which is similar to what happened to the slaves. They weren't supposed to read. But reading is power. Reading is essential. Thanks to my homeboy Vino from the Odd Pod, you know, I've been getting books from. I read so far this summer. Let's see. I read the Jungle Book, the original one. There's no songs in it, and it's very good. It's more. And I talked about this on the last Odd Pod, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's in similar in ways to like Animal Farm by George Orwell. There's more, or Wizard of Oz. There's more to the story than just you got to read between the lines, basically. I read this one, which we talked about on the Odd Pod about Confederate monuments, which was pretty interesting. Whoops, wrong side. And that one was really interesting. It taught, history is taught by the victors. We all know that. The people who win wars write the books, right? That's not a secret. So right now, I'm beginning to read this one, Via Incognito. And so far, it's pretty interesting. I'm barely 6 pages in, but I'm excited about reading this one. So, I think reading is great for, maybe it helps with trauma. I know it helps with stress, anxiety. Right now, a lot of people have high anxiety, high stress levels. Try to calm down because that stress might make you sick. You know? That's a proven scientific fact. You can stress yourself into sickness. You can Fear is not a healthy thing. It is in a sense of like a healthy fear, but when you're always afraid and you're like, oh, this and that, and now you're like, oh my God, and you're just always watching the 24-hour news cycle is probably not a good idea. Let me show y'all some art. You don't have to be a great artist to use art as a tool for stress. This is the first one in this book that I did 2 years ago, but it's one of my favorite pieces. It's hard to see on there, but you see there's the eye, which is, I guess, what we see. There's time, space, the earth, animals, chemicals like drugs that I've tried, music, family, and then art. Just doodles, you know what I'm saying? Just sometimes just sitting outside and some weird shit I drew. Sitting outside, watering the grass, listening to the birds, looking at the trees, watching some ants do their ant shit. You know what I mean? Just the little fucking things in life that we usually don't pay attention to. They can bring you harmony a lot of times. At least in my experience, they can. There's also a new study that's come out. I've seen it in a couple articles that cannabis, besides helping with cancer and besides helping with seizures and everything else it does, now they're saying that it can help prevent the spread of corona. Spark up. Spark it if you got it. There's I don't want to get too deep into politics. I've done enough of that. So let's see what else. My hair, my crazy hair that I should have put glue in. Maybe glue would have made my shit spike. Maybe. Let's see. I've been playing Civilization. That shit is fire, bro. My boy Romo, he got that hoe on PC, and we were playing that yesterday. That shit was legit. I'm not really big into video games, like I'll play Mario Kart, Minecraft, any kind of Mario game, but I really can't just sit there and play video games a lot. A lot of men can do that. They could play video games for hours. Maybe it's my ADHD or something, which I don't think I have ADHD. It gets boring to me. It's not intellectually. Doesn't exercise my. Well, I mean, I understand like it is. You gotta. There's tactics and shit like that. So, in the way it is, you're using your brain, but maybe it's the strain of the screen. I don't know. Yeah. So, awesome. I got a couple comic books. I gotta go get another one today because the comic book shop was short on it. This one just ended this series, and they set it up for a sequel series. It was fucking fire. And this one is the final issue of the mini series of Jenica, the female turtle. And bro, she's killing it. There was something interesting on here because they're talking about like a secret underground society, right? And let's see, he says something. Okay, right here. But they've got money, and money can keep a lot of mouths closed. People talk about how the conspiracies exist. How can that many people keep a secret? Well, money talks. And money can also make you not talk. Yeah. Also, I'm going to get the issue 105, I think, of the current ongoing series. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's not all negative out there. We heard about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman for the Flash movie. which looks pretty fire because they might finally bring Batman Beyond into this bitch. Which I wish I could buy more comic books, but they're so fucking expensive, man. You know, $3.99, $4.99 a pop. You know, that goes a long way. Yeah, I don't want to get too dark. There's a lot of dark shit going on already, so I don't want to get too dark. So yeah, I got new music coming. This new album is gonna. I'm either gonna call it Dark Days and Bright Nights, or Weed and Water, which is inspired by like Kush and OJ by Wiz Khalifa and Chicken and Beer by Ludacris. But it's gonna be an EP, like 6 tracks. I got 3 done, and they're some of my favorite tracks I've ever made. They're more mature, they're happier. There's no political shit in it. It's just good hip hop music, and I'm very excited about that. I got my cousin Sleepy J producing it, so you know, oh shit, I got this fucking towel on my chair and shit. I was letting that hoe dry. Yeah, man. I hope everybody's doing good. I know a lot of people are scared. You know, it's always good to take precaution, but being afraid all the time is not really healthy. Okay, there's another fire series that I'm reading right now called Undiscovered Country, where it's like, and this series came out before, it started before, you know, Corona and all that, but what it's about is, so it says 30 years ago, the United States sealed its borders. Since that time, no one has come in or out. All trade and communications have ceased, and no one in the outer world has any idea what happened to what was once America. And that happened because of, there was a disease or something, which is interesting. But you know, that's been talked about often. I mean, Bill Gates talked about a pandemic that could, you know, wipe out a lot of people a few years ago. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know. And a lot of people say predictive programming. Like if you look at The Simpsons, and they say The Simpsons predicted a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? There's a theory that a lot of times it's so that we're more easily susceptible to things as they happen. Because if you do a little bit of research, you'll see all these cartoons like that would have little things that say "Ask about Illuminati," which was in a DuckTales episode, or 9/11, which was in Donnie Bravo and The Simpsons, and then all different kinds of things. And it could be coincidence, it could be predictive programming, which kind of it just eases us into what they're planning on doing, supposedly. I feel like a lot of people don't. I mean, the 9/11 thing was bananas, you know, and it was in 2001, but, you know, it was 19 years ago, but it's not that long ago. People have very short term, because of the 24-hour news cycle. That's why it seems like so long ago, because there's new shit all the fucking time. But the fact that like the day or two before they announced that the Pentagon was missing money, like trillions of dollars, and then they don't have any video, but they say this plane hit the Pentagon. And then the fact that the guy who owned the Twin Towers put some kind of insurance on it, like this the week before. I forgot who it was, but bought out like a bunch of the floors and then cleared out before that. And then if you go to Building 7, let's say it is all what they say it is, you know? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Oh, I was going to talk about conspiracy trauma. Thank you, brain. So when I first got into conspiracies, it was about 2011. And what got me into it was I was at Levine's, this place that I worked at for 4 years. That was a big part of my life. I met a lot of great people there. I matured there. There was, you know, stuff in my personal life that was happening, so I had to deal with it while I was there. for that reason, I think I still have so many dreams. And I even got this sign from there because they closed. And I asked him if I could keep this sign, and the dude there was like, he's like, where did you find that, man? And he was just like shaking his head, laughing. I was like, oh, it's just in the bag, and I didn't break anything. It was just like in the wall, this little plastic thing, and it just popped up, and they said I could have it, so I took it. And I wanted it because I thought maybe my dreams of Levine's will stop happening. Because, man, I keep having dreams. Like, it's not every night, right? But it's every once in a while, and it's happened for the past few years. It didn't. Getting that sign didn't help. Maybe I just brought more Levine's into my house. Whatever. So I was having a conversation with my homeboy Knowledge 405, who's also on that track. I think he's on the second verse. Check that out on SoundCloud. It's called All the Time. And we were talking, right? And I had noticed, because this was in the time where hip hop went from Ether, Nas, DMX, and then there was like real. Nas had that song I Know I Can. You know, hip hop was. Jadakiss had that song Why. You know, and these were on the radio. At some point, something happened where songs started getting, in my opinion, dumber. Right? I mean, I wasn't a fan of Lil Wayne's Lollipop. I wasn't a fan of the snap music. I'm not a fan of mumble rap. And so, but before even mumble rap, I started noticing, okay, the radio, mainstream hip hop has become garbage. That was my opinion. So I was telling Knowledge 405, and he was telling me, you know, there's a reason for that. And I thought, you know, I don't know what I thought the reason was. I was like, they're just trying to make us dumber, but I didn't really have any concept of conspiracy. Like, I didn't get into any of that yet. I didn't know anything about. The only thing I heard about Illuminati was Tupac Illuminati. So he gave me a DVD, and this DVD was Professor Griff talking about the Boule, which if you have time, do some research on the Boule. It's Boule. And apparently that's like the hip hop version. It's like the African American black melanated Illuminati, right? And so then I learned, because of that DVD and because of that, I had to show everybody that DVD. But I learned that there were satanic rituals, occult practices going on behind the industry, and it didn't just start recently with hip hop. You know, it was back in the day with the rock music, and you know how Bob Dylan supposedly sold his soul, and you know, and if you do research into Lucifer and shit like that, you know, a lot of that shit it just won't surprise you if you actually read the text of the Bible. I mean, the Bible says, which I don't think it's 100% solid fact, but I do believe that there's a lot of good in the Bible. But it says that God kicks the devil out of heaven, kicks him to earth. And then those demons and the devil, they were attracted to the women, human women. They raped them. Maybe some of them were willingly. And then those women had giants, right? And that's why if you do some research, supposedly there's been bones found of giants and shit like that. And they're like, what? But the Bible calls them giants, the Nephilim, which were the half-breeds, which were half demon, half human. Or alien, half alien, however you want to call it, demon, reptilian, whatever the fuck you want to call it, fallen angel or whatever. So they, and then it says that those people, those children of, you know, they become the rulers of the world, the leaders. God or Jesus, one of them says that this world is not run by God, it's run by the devil. Now, a lot of the occult practices, they believe in worshiping the devil. I mean, just look up Pizzagate, look up the WikiLeaks, look up the Bohemian Grove, the Bilderberg Group. I mean, the rabbit hole is deep. I mean, and the reason why, okay, so I found out about the Illuminati music, how they were using that to manipulate and make us dumber and more susceptible. Because I mean, if you notice, hip hop started off, it was underground, like we had freedom, right? When it first, underground kings, for instance. But people, we used to just we had free reign. We talk about real shit. And then when they noticed how powerful hip hop was, the industry took it over. They put it on everything. They put hip hop on everything, and they used it for negative. Now there's rappers talking about popping pills and shit. Before, it was, not saying it was better, but well, it was better. But rappers were talking about selling drugs because they had to survive, not because they wanted to. And now it's all cool to take drugs, and it's real cool to sell drugs. So there's a lot of rappers I didn't like, because I grew up on Tupac, I grew up on Bone Thugs, I grew up on DMX, on these cats that they weren't faking the funk. So whenever Lil Wayne went from being a Crip, bling blinging, and then he got all these tattoos because the record label made him, and then he's kissing Birdman, which is nothing wrong with being gay, but don't say it's some mafia shit, because that's not what it is. And then you got Lil Twist coming out, talking about that they used to make him sit on their laps and shit in Cash Money, and then everybody in Cash Money leaves because of Baby, Birdman, and his brother Slim. Which I don't know where I was going. Oh, but that's why I didn't like Wayne. Cause I was like, dude, this dude is fake. Now he's a blood and shit, because now that he didn't really, he's not a blood from the streets, right? He became a blood later on, once he was rich and shit with Birdman, because they told him to, because it was marketable. So I found out about that. You know, when you tell people, when you find, I mean, it's just like back in the day when people used to talk about JFK, and when Patton Oswalt said he was a patsy, and you started to talk about the CIA and shit, mind control, and Charles Manson, and you know, a lot of people would think you're crazy, and that can fuck with you. And during that time, when I started diving, it was also before 2012. So then I stumbled upon this whole Nibiru and the end of the Mayan calendar, and I was like, oh shit, well, if the world ends, fuck it. I was depressed, I was single, I was going through like court drama and shit. So for me, I felt like I found it all at the right time. I found out about fluoride. I found out about aspartame, that fake ass sugar. I found out about a lot of shit, and some of it's public knowledge now, and I'm very happy about that. Like how the sugar industry is so corrupt, how the pharmaceutical industry is so corrupt, how they get into the pockets of politicians. But at the time, you know, I mean, that was what, 9 years ago, so a lot of people weren't having it, right? I was ready for the end of the fucking world. You know, I was ready. A lot of people are like, nah, the Bible always says it's gonna end and this and that. I was fucking ready, bro. So I dove deep. I said, let me find out. I noticed, I saw that, and I would do research. I would compare the Bible to the Quran, to history, to current events. And the whole global warming thing, you know, they try to say it's carbon monoxide, but we don't barely do anything. Like I'm not a scientist, and I'm not great at explaining shit, so I probably shouldn't even try. So let's not. But when I found out that marijuana was made illegal because of racism and because of money, not because it was dangerous, when I found out the petroleum industries destroyed all the electric trolleys in all the cities, because they used to be in all the cities, so that people had to use buses. When those oil companies didn't let Ford or anybody else make vehicles run on alcohol, because they were able to do that. When I found out that there's African kids losing limbs today, right now in Africa, that are working for companies that are outsourced by major companies like Microsoft, Apple, and shit like that, and they're mining for lithium to make our fucking laptops and our cell phones. You know, it's interesting. It's very fucking interesting. You know, I mean, it's come out. The slave labor is being used for clothing. That it's being used for Nike shoes. That, you know, and I'm not judging anybody, but a lot of times we turn a blind eye when it's not happening here in America. So I mean, it's crazy. I would tell people about heart. I would try to tell people about anything, right? And a lot of times, family members and friends would be like, "Oh, you're crazy. That's crazy. You know, whatever. Blow me off." And then they'll see something on TV that will talk about it, and they're like, "Oh shit, it was real this whole time." It's a bittersweet feeling when people find out that you were right. You know, because a lot of times, a person that's a conspiracy theorist or factist, whatever. That's not a good word. Factist. That sounds like something bad. A conspiracy truther, studier, researcher. I don't know. But a lot of these I don't want to be real, because then it's like, oh, but it starts making sense, because if God said, the Bible never says anything about hell in the way that 5th or 6th century pope or bishop or whatever from the Vatican decided, oh, there's these different layers of hell because he had a dream about hell and shit. When Jesus talks about hell, he's talking about this thing which was translated it's a thing that they burn trash. So basically, if you fuck up and you sin, you're just basically worth burnt trash. But he didn't say, oh yeah, God has Satan working for him and he's down there poking people in the booty hole with some fucking a trident or whatever. That came way later from the Vatican. And that whole pedophile shit with the Catholic Church, that shit is crazy. And they got money up the wahoo to pay off everybody, and they just move their little pounds around and shit. So that's why I question everything, you know? Because I know we've been lied to a lot. And I know we've been manipulated, misled, and brainwashed, because I was. You know, and when you wake up, when you find this knowledge, it's so empowering. Empowering. I mean, it's amazing, you know, and you can't force nobody to believe it, and I understand, because people are too afraid to even think about it. I mean, even my mom said, like, she doesn't want to think about the adrenochrome and a lot of the shit that's going on, that I'm telling her that it's been released in these documents by Julian Assange, and it's been proven. And because if you get to a certain age and you're like, this is the way the world is, this is how it's brought up, some 30-year-old stupid kid is not gonna prove to me that everything I was told is wrong. And I understand that. I mean, who the fuck am I? You know, so don't believe me. Just do your own research, is all I can say. Do your own research. What I find interesting is, like, let's say you go to Google and you ask for something, right? And usually the first couple pages are the companies that are all owned by the same 5 companies. You know, there's ABC, CBS. You know, all these companies that are owned, if you do your research, they're all owned by a handful of companies. It's I did a project on it at school. It's not a monopoly, it's an oligopoly, I think, where very few people have power. And then the fact that these fucking big ass companies don't have to pay taxes. That always pissed me off. I'm like, they take out all my fucking check. Well, big ass fuck ass portion of Jeff Bezos, and none of these major companies have to pay taxes. Which I found bananas. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you could try to explain it to me, and I've had people explain it to me, but it's still like, that's stupid. And I don't mind being proven wrong. I've been proven wrong a couple of times these past few months, and I'll admit it. But if I feel that I'm not wrong, I'm not gonna admit it. I will respect your opinion. because as an American and as a human, we have the right to have our own opinions and not call people stupid for thinking what they think, you know. But you know, I'm still gonna wear my mask when they tell me to, but I found out that it's harder to breathe with it. Uh, we breathe out carbon monoxide, so we're just re-breathing our poison gas that we're supposed to be getting out. We're supposed to be breathing in the leaves and the trees and the oxygen. But I mean, it's interesting, man. We live in an interesting time. It feels like a movie. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they got documentaries on Netflix about Jeffrey Epstein and all these girls that are talking about Clinton, Bill Clinton, and then Epstein's wife, who was the daughter of a fucking billionaire who hasn't had any trouble, who was recruiting most of these girls for him. And then you start to see, like, you know, it just confirms what I already know. But it's interesting. It's cool to see other people waking up. And I know Netflix is doing it for the money, but at the same time, good things can come out of negative things sometimes. Like that, like somebody trying to make money off of a book or a documentary, but there's actual evidence and truth in it. It's just somebody has to get paid for it. I'm in the middle of watching one right now, a documentary that we talked about on the Odd Pod last time, which hasn't come out yet. It'll come out after this. It's all done, you know. It's about Hollywood. And I mean, if you know about, damn, I forgot his name. His name was on my tip of my tongue. Corey Feldman. You know, he talks about the pedophilia in Hollywood is like the worst problem in Hollywood. When Dave Chappelle left Hollywood, he had an interview with Oprah when he came back, and he said, I need to silence this. He talked about Martin Lawrence, and he said that these people are strong people. They're not weak people. Maybe it's the environment that is sick. He talked about how they wanted to make him wear a dress, and he said, nope, I don't want to wear a dress. I don't need to wear a dress to be funny. They're like, well, all the greats have done it. Wesley Snipes wore a dress and such wore it. And he's like, well, if all the greats did it, then it's hacky. I don't need to do it, right? And they're like, well, and then they rewrote the script supposedly. And after a few minutes, finally, they just said, fine, you're not going to have to do it. But they sent everybody in there to try to get him to wear a dress. Why? I'm not saying it's wrong for a man to wear a dress, and neither is he. But to force somebody, you understand why some people think that's demasculating, because you go down the list and there's a lot of African American actors who have to do, like, they either have to wear a dress or, like Jadakiss said on Why, Denzel Washington made a great movie, John Q, remember the Titans, but he didn't get an award until he became a crooked cop in Training Day. He was a great actor in that. He's a great actor, period. Everything he does is great, in my opinion. I mean, you know, not all his movies are perfect, but you know, and then I was watching a documentary called Hidden Colors, which is about, it talks about how everybody came from Africa. And Africa, they spread everywhere, right? And we all come from Africa. And then I also heard that melanated people have bigger pineal glands, that third eye, and I think that's why white supremacy tries to go after black people so much, and I mean other races too, right? But it's interesting, you know. It's very interesting. It's sticky out there. It's tricky, you know. Even though there's some people on Facebook I'll agree with, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have went about it like that. You know, even if I agree with what they're saying, the way that they said it isn't gonna help. It's just gonna make it worse. For instance, I saw somebody put something about George Floyd, that he had a criminal record, and one time he got into some woman's house or some shit, right? I understand what you're saying, what you're doing with that, but it's not the right time, nor the right method. Um, you got to pick your battles, you know. And I defended Black Lives Matter not as a movement, but as a saying. And the way I saw it was, you know, obviously they matter, but white supremacy in the system often acts like they don't matter. So we have to remind people that Black lives do matter. But then it's not simple like that, right? Then you find out that people are funding it, and then the money that people are donating to it aren't going to it, or aren't getting people out of jail. And there's always more to the story than meets the eye, usually. And thank God for the internet, you know, but you got to understand that there is misinformation, and just go with your heart, go with your gut. If you feel like you need to be scared all the time, fuck it, be scared all the time. But I don't think you should. I love y'all. And I appreciate y'all for watching this and following me. I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna say things wrong sometimes. But that's human. That's what humans do. We're imperfect. And it's important to remember when we debate with our loved ones and our friends online and in person. Remember that we're all one, really. We're all connected, and this is just, I guess if you don't believe that this is temporary, then it's harder for you to discern the fact that if you're an atheist and you don't believe in an afterlife, then it may be harder for you. I don't know. I've never been an atheist. So I don't know. But other than that, you know, like I said, they say that bud is good for corona. So it gets clogged up. I don't know why it always gets clogged up. It's not perfect technology. Whew. That shit's strong. Alright, everybody. Peace, love, happiness. I'm out.